This podcast comes with a disclaimer. I'm going to be talking about some upsetting topics, so if you have experienced death in the family or close friends, loved ones, then I wouldn't advise you listen to this. Thank you ever so much. This is crime scene investigator Chris G, leading you under the police tape and into a crime scene. Join me as we discuss the ever-changing world of forensic science. Put on your PPE, ready your fingerprint brushes, and experience the drama of a crime scene. I know, it's been a while, I'm sorry. I don't really have a good excuse really, but I can keep you up to date with what I've been up to recently. At the moment I'm doing a project management course, I'm doing a teacher training course, I'm about to go on a crime scene manager's course. I've got courses coming out of my ears. So when it comes to podcasts, it's been a little bit tricky really, especially tricky when you've got a toddler that likes to make noise. As most people with toddlers will know, keeping quiet isn't really an option for a little one, and you kind of need it when you're doing a podcast. It's kind of hard, unless you're doing, I guess, a podcast to do with toddlers, then it's probably quite good to have have them in the background. But anyway, I've been quite busy recently. I got in at 3 a.m. last night. We had an armed robbery. Don't know if you've seen on my Twitter, but I was snapped by the paparazzi. It's been a bit of a busy week really. I'm feeling a little bit sleepy, but I guess having a small child kind of helps with that really. It gets me used to the early nights, the early mornings. But at least I'm compensated for it. But I guess my little one does give me cuddles if I do go in and see her, so it's not void of compensation. But I hope everyone's doing okay. I mean, it's been several months since I've done a podcast, so probably a lot has changed. A lot's going on now, sort of Eastern Europe, which has been really upsetting and distressing to watch really. I kind of wish that the world would just get on with one another, but of course if everyone did get on with one another, I wouldn't be doing the job that I'm doing. Not that I'm saying I'm thankful for that. It'd be lovely to be doing a job that's something different because we all get on well, but unfortunately someone needs to do this. So what am I going to talk to you about today? I was going to talk to you about something that intrigues so many people, and I get so many questions about it, whether or not it's, say, on social media or if it's just when I see people. It could be, say, like if I tell friends of friends what I do, or it could be just like people that I see at crime scenes. Then, they will often ask me about this topic, and it's death. Now, death is something that we all have in common. Unfortunately, we're all going to die at some point in time. And it's the same with not just humans, but animals, everything around us, we have this in common with. And maybe that's why it's fairly intriguing for some people. Because, we all have our stories of, say, people that we've lost, or we all have that curiosity of how, say, ourselves, our family, or even strangers might pass away. And it's probably doesn't help that you've got TV shows that say glamorize it, make it look really, really interesting and cool, when actually it's a real thing that happens. And I'm always very mindful that it has a devastating impact on a family. And sometimes it is obviously very apparent because there'll be, say, family members outside the crime scene that would have just found out that their loved one has passed away. And it's often a harsh reminder of the kind of brutal sort of feelings that someone will have once, say, someone does pass away. And I guess that's why we've got to remain professional when we're doing a job like this. We've always got to be mindful of, say, how other people will feel, and the perception that the public and the families will have by our actions, say, at a crime scene. Because it is a huge privilege to, say, go into someone's final resting place and recover them sort of in a way that, say, the family would want them to be treated. They want them to be treated with that respect. So how do I treat someone with respect? Well, I always like to find out the person's name, even though they can't hear me. I might be in a room with them by themselves sometimes. I still like to call them by their name because they were a person up until that point, almost, and they still are in a way. But what I mean is I want to respect the legacy that they've had, whatever that legacy is. And I think by doing that, it sort of fuels me in a way to work those long hours, work those tough shifts. Maybe it's out in the pouring rain, or it's freezing cold, or it is really traumatic, the scene that I'm in. I feel like it's, like I use that word privilege, it's a privilege to be there with that person in their final resting place. And it's those sort of incentives that drive me to want to do such a good job for them. It also can be a bit of a burden, because if you do have these sort of feelings, then that can either cloud you or it can make you want to do a better job than you actually have the capability of doing. Sometimes it might be that you're say striving for that bit of evidence that just isn't there because no one has left it behind, but you're trying so desperately to find it, and you're going to end up going around in circles, like, not being able to get this crucial bit of evidence because, you're just so determined for this person. And of course, you've always got to remain objective at a crime scene. So you've got, say, a possible hypothesis of what's happened. Maybe it is a suspicious death, maybe it's non-suspicious, maybe it's, say, like natural causes that's happened, or say a person may have taken their own life. So you've always got to have that sort of clarity over what could have happened and what may not have. And you've just got to remain objective. So I thought I'd talk about the role of a crime scene investigator at an autopsy, or what we call it in the UK as a post-mortem. So post-mortem is like a operation on the person after they have passed away to try and establish the cause of death. So it might be that on the outside of the person we might not know what the cause of death is. A pathologist will open them up and use their expert skills to be able to determine what caused that person's life to then become extinct. Sometimes it can be quite obvious if you've got a wound, but of course you'll need to determine, say, which wound was the fatal wound. Was it survivable? If, say, medical intervention was able to get there quicker, or did, say, the offender really want this person to suffer? And of course, all this information will be presented in a courtroom one day. So that's why it is so important to record and capture everything that we'll do at a post-mortem. So before a post-mortem happens, what will occur is a forensic strategy will be made. This is usually by a supervisor, say a senior CSI, and it is basically a list of things that we will need to recover at a post-mortem, and it's a reflection on what has happened in the case. So say if there has been a fight between two people and this person has come off worse off, then we're going to be looking to see if there's anything, say, on the person that might help attribute who has caused that injury. Whereas if it is, say, a road traffic accident where the car has caused the injury, then we won't necessarily be looking to find, say, a person's DNA on the other person if they, say, have stopped by the roadside and we're confident there's been no sort of physicality between the two people, if that makes any sort of sense. I hope it does. So a strategy will be formulated. This will be agreed with the senior investigating officer, or the SIO, and that will then be presented to the pathologist when we get to the hospital, when we get to the mortuary, and we will have a meeting before the post-mortem begins with the pathologist, just to go over, say, what we need to obtain from this strategy. Also, the pathologist, they have done this 1,001 times. They are very sort of knowledgeable on what we would need to recover as well. So we will always listen to them, and they will be able to advise us if they feel like actually when it goes to court it would be beneficial if we had, say, this sample or that sample. Also in the meeting with us will be a coroner's officer. Now, a coroner's officer is normally, say, the go-between between the investigation and the family. They also liaise with the coroner for, say, West Sussex, East Sussex. And they are that representative for the person who's passed away as a part of the police service. You will also have the, say, senior investigating officer there, or it could be that they've delegated the responsibilities to, say, the deputy or one of their teammates. So we'll have a representative there, either from the major crime department or whichever department is taking on the case. And then we've also got our mortuary assistants. So these mortuary technicians or assistants will be provided by the hospital that we're at, and they will basically assist the pathologist. So they'll assist them with doing things like sewing back up the body after it's been dissected. They will clean the body afterwards and make it presentable so it's safe for the family to view. And yeah, they are you say the word assistant and you might think, I don't know, an assistant is maybe someone that's not so skilled, but when you watch these mortuary assistants, they are just so incredibly talented in what they do. So yeah, they are exceptional. And those are the people that we will have in an autopsy room. So once the post-mortem is ready to commence, we will go through to the changing rooms and we'll get changed in our personal protective equipment. This can sometimes change between, say, serious cases and major cases. Now, what I mean by that is major is often, say, your murder scenes where someone has, say, been directly and intentionally involved in someone's death. For, say, serious cases, it might be that it is, say, a road traffic accident and we're not looking for, say, that minute, say, DNA trace on the person, and it could be that it has been an accident which will often not lead to, say, prosecution, or it might just lead to, say, driver's ban. It depends on how the CPS, how our Crown Prosecution Service want to take it forward. So yeah, sometimes what we wear can differ, but for major crime scene cases, we're going to be putting on our hairnets, our masks, our scene suits, so that's those all-in-one, say, white suits that you see us wear on the news. We'll double glove as well, so that's just if and when our outer gloves get contaminated, we can take them off and we've still got a pair of gloves underneath. And yeah, we'll get all into our suits. Sometimes the senior investigating officers, so the SIOs, will not get changed into PPE because they're just going to be taking a sort of backseat, watching from a distance and just getting that information firsthand from the pathologist as to, say, the likely cause of death. Because it could be, if you've got someone in custody, but however this person died naturally, then we want to get them released from custody as soon as possible. So yeah, information can change quite quickly, which is why they're there. And straight away, the pathologist is going to direct us to take photographs. So I'm going to take photographs of the deceased when they're in the evidence bag, and this is to sort of show a chain of custody. So to show that the exhibit bag, the body bag that they're in hasn't been opened prior to me getting there. So I'm going to be taking a full-length shot of the body bag, when it's all zipped up and closed, and just showing that seal to show that the evidence and the body bag, hasn't been opened prior to me getting there. And then we're going to open up the body bag, and I'm going to photograph the deceased as they are. So we're just going to open up the bag, do some full-length shots of the deceased, and this normally involves me climbing up onto a step ladder, and I'm going to photograph the person before they're then moved to the autopsy table. This is, say, a metal bench that has a sink at one end, so you can easily wash it down. The water's all going to run down the bench and out the sink at the end. So then we'll move the person on there, and we'll maybe start to, say, recover their clothing. Their clothing will get recovered, say, into evidence bags, and as the clothing is, say, coming off, we're then looking for further injuries that might not be visible when the clothing's present. So any more injuries that we then see, we're going to be photographing them as well. And once our sort of initial general photography is done, we'll say, or the pathologist will start to take samples. So this could be, say, from key contact points like hands, wrists, neck, ankles, and this could be done also before the clothing is removed, because if you start removing the clothing, you might disrupt these areas. Most of the time, a ambulance service may have already removed the clothing to, say, treat the person, to try and bring them back to life and resuscitate them. So it may be that the clothing has already been recovered at the scene, although sometimes, it can be done at the mortuary as well. And once the pathologist has, say, examined the front of them, they're going to do the same on the back. We're going to turn them over, and the pathologist will be looking for, again, any abnormalities. That's a big word in the morning for me. It's not really when you think about it. But the pathologist is going to be looking for any abnormalities on the person that may have, say, attributed their death. It's always worth as well, if you're a crime scene investigator at the scene, turning the body over and having a look at their other side before you, say, package them up, because you never know what may have occurred. And then once all that is done, we've done all our, say, forensic samples on the person. This is when the pathologist makes their, say, first incision, and then starts dissecting the person and opening up and having a look at, say, their organs and their internal cavities. And it's at this point the mood can change in the mortuary room, and it's hard for me to describe, but I guess you've got this whole person from head to toe, say, if there hasn't been significant trauma, and your pathologist will make the incision, and then it's like the person completely changes at that point, and they don't become this, say, like, I don't know, they don't become this, like, whole human being anymore. It's like, they are now sort of they're changed in a way. It's really, really hard for me to describe, but it's what got me when I first went to a post-mortem. My first few that I dealt with, it was this moment when I think you've got someone that's on the table and they are sort of relatively intact, and then this thing happens to them, and if it would happen to an alive person, you would be screaming out in pain, and yet this person doesn't. And I think it's strange in a way, but it's at that point, it's like, I know that there's no way back because this person has been pronounced dead, but at this point there definitely isn't any way back, and it's almost like that real harsh visual reminder that this person has passed away. It's really hard for me to describe. Maybe I should be describing it almost soon after I experienced something like this. But and I guess the reason why I'm doing this podcast in a way is because you see a lot of stuff like this on television. I've just watched House of the Dragon, and I won't spoil it for many people, but if you've watched House of the Dragon and you've watched it all, there are some really traumatic scenes in there. I found them really traumatic because I've dealt with, say, like real life experiences quite like it. Of course, I wasn't in a castle surrounded with dragons and people dressed up in chainmail, but the sort of feeling of, say, death was there, particularly with, say, the type of, I won't try to spoil it, but the type of people that have passed away in this show, and it brought back all those feelings for me. And I guess it's one thing that, say, shows probably find it difficult to portray, is that real anguish, that real despair, those harsh real feelings that happen when we go through this. And whenever someone comes up to me at a crime scene and they say to me, what's the most traumatic thing you've ever seen, or what's the worst way someone has passed away, I think what you're actually asking me there is you're asking me to think about one of, say, the worst moments in my life, a moment that I've, say, put to the back of my mind, and I'm only really comfortable talking about it when I unlock that box, I open it up, and I'm ready to take that out. And you want me to answer this to you just for, say, your curiosity. It's a really dangerous thing, because, I mean, you wouldn't do this to, say, someone who has had counselling for, say, an abusive relationship they've been in, say, and then you wouldn't ask them what is the worst thing this person has ever done to you when you know it is really, really traumatic. You don't want to bring that up to the surface without any, say, warning or anything like that. And that's almost what House of the Dragon did for me. It brought up all these feelings of experiences similar to this that I've been in, and there was no warning for me. So I guess that's why I found it really difficult. And I just wanted to, say, remind people that we, crime scene investigators, people in the police, the emergency services, your doctors, your nurses, your fire brigade officers that go in there and they go in to tackle fires, they don't realise that there's a deceased in there. Your rescuers that strive, your carers, people like this, we go through quite a lot of trauma, really, and yeah, we are people at the end of the day. I will have to, say, go to a child death, come home and be dad. I mean, that is surreal, isn't it, when you think about it? Like, I have to deal with the worst thing that could happen to, say, someone's child, and then I've got to go home and be a father to my own child. And yeah, it can be really tricky, because I'm talking lots about trauma and how it can, say, affect me, especially in that moment. But there are lots of coping mechanisms that I have. There is support out there for everyone in my team and myself as well. I guess my coping mechanisms are, I don't bottle things in. If I have dealt with quite a traumatic scene, I will go to someone that I know is, say, capable and comfortable listening to me, and I will, say, offload on them. The worst thing that I can do is offload on someone that already has sort of their emotions quite high. I think we love, people that know me know that I love analogies and metaphors. There are various analogies, like I think most men use the pint glass analogy. Like, if your pint glass is almost like your mind, if you fill it up too much, eventually it's going to overflow. So you need to take like little regular sips, just making sure that you're dealing with what is in that pint glass before it then, say, flows over. I like the kitchen cupboard method because I do like a bit of organisation. So basically, like, your feelings, your thoughts and everything, say trauma that you suffer, your experiences, they're like things that you put into this kitchen cupboard. You may put something big in the back of your kitchen cupboard that is taking up a lot of space, but it's okay because you've made room for it. It's when you start putting in a lot of little things that eventually your kitchen cupboard's just going to burst open and everything's going to come flooding out. And I've seen this happen so many times, not just in my career, but just in general life as well. You see that someone snaps over the absolute minute little thing, but they're not actually so upset about that little thing. They're upset about, say, something that happened years ago that they haven't dealt with, that they've put away in their kitchen cupboard, and yet they haven't still dealt with all these little things. And it will be this one little thing that they put in their mind that will just cause it all to overflow, and hey presto, Jenga. That happens. So, and I think that's why lockdown was so hard for people as well, because I mean, we just talk about it over a cup of tea. Us English, we love to have a cup of tea and have a big moan, but what we're actually doing is we're offloading, and we're sort of giving our mind an MOT. It's sort of regular service. And when lockdown happened, we didn't have that. I actually felt quite fortunate to be working through lockdown. I mean, we in the emergency services, we didn't have a single day off. There was no furlough or anything, because we were still expected to go out there and work as normal, and quite rightly. I mean, the public, you deserve this service. But I felt quite fortunate because I could offload, and I could have, say, that cup of tea at a 2 metre plus distance with my colleagues in the office. And I could say, just offload my feelings, really. And that sort of helped keep me sane through lockdown. So what I would say, and I've gone off on a tangent because this was supposed to be about death and everything, but what I would say to you is, if you have, say, traumatic experiences, do not keep them to yourself. Find people you trust that you know can take on these problems, or seek sort of help through. In the UK, we've got, say, Samaritans that you can contact. You can go to your local GP if you're really suffering, or if you are in a mental health crisis, then go to A&E straight away. They're trained for things like this, and my goodness, it's not a weakness if you are able to identify this in yourself and seek the help straight away. Then you have shown that incredible strength to do so. The easy option is to just let it fester away and become this bigger problem that it doesn't need to be. So do seek help if you need to. I think I'm going to wrap it up there because I'm looking at the time and it's getting to almost half hour. If you've made it this far, well done. I haven't bored you too much, and I hope that you found this really interesting, and it's been great for me to be back and for me to offload a little bit as well. Maybe this is my therapy, talking to this screen. But again, thank you so much for listening. I really hope to catch you all again soon. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you at the next one. This is crime scene investigator Chris G signing off. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed listening. Be sure to subscribe and follow my social media at CSI Chris G. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I'll see you at the next crime scene.